Hi guys, it is me, Tiearra Jefferson. It has been such a long time, I feel like, since we last met. If this is your first time tuning in, I definitely want to thank you. My name is Tiearra Jefferson, and this is my YouTube video blog on behalf of Devotions of Purity. I do that dance because I get so excited when I think about the fact that I didn't even want to start this blog, and now that it's here, it just brings joy to me every time I do it. So I definitely thank you for tuning in. There's also a web blog that goes along with this blog, the video channel, I'm sorry. If you have not tuned into it yet, it is, or subscribed to it, you can go to www.devotionsofpurity.blogspot.com and you can subscribe to it. You can follow it. We also have a new email that we just got running. That email is devutionsofpurity@gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, comments, or whatever it may be that you need to get to me, I definitely check it as much as I can. So we got some new and exciting things. As you can tell, we got a new background going on. I'm just so excited. I just been, praying and planning on how to make this better. So I just really hope you guys definitely enjoy this. I hope that you get excited when you see these videos just as much as I get excited when I make it. And together we're just gonna do what we have to do. We're gonna make God proud, and we are gonna spread the love, and we are gonna spread the word. So anybody that you think needs to subscribe to it or needs to hear this video or watch any of them or read the blogs, I definitely encourage you to share. I do have a Facebook page now that I just started, and it's Devotions of Purity. You can search that in the web bar. I just been doing a lot. Like, I've been working, I've been trying my best to promote and trying my best to just reach out. So I hope you guys are excited as I am. If you have read the last blog, oh wait, how could I forget? It's the new year. I haven't talked to you guys since last year. Happy New Year 2018. I'm declaring that this is the year of new open doors. I have been posting that all around on my pages and messages. Even at work, I have stickers around my office that says new open doors. So I'm just declaring that this is the year for new open doors in my life, and I'm declaring the same for you. So we are going to get into our topic for today. And if you read the blog, which I hope you did, and if you didn't, I told you how to get there. Our topic for today is going to be your season of singleness is necessary. You like that, right? I do too. I came to this topic because one day I was just sitting at home and I was watching a sermon, and the preacher that I was watching was talking about, the things that take place and the things that occur, while you're single, or the things that you should be experiencing while you're single. And up until I was 25 years old, from 15, I've never been single. I've had a boyfriend since I was like 15 years old. Did I know what a boyfriend was at 15? Of course not. But I had one. Everybody had one. Everybody was dating. Everybody was doing whatever it was they wanted to do. So I felt like, okay, if everybody else is doing it, then I need to do it too. So at the age of 15, I had my first boyfriend. At the age of 15, I opened myself up to having sex. And I just always felt like I needed somebody. I always felt like I had to have somebody around. I always felt like that I was nobody without somebody. It was always, oh, my name is Tiearra and I date this person. Or my name is Tiearra and I'm talking to that person. It was never, who is Tiearra? Like, who is she? And I didn't feel like I had my own identity because I was always linked up with somebody else. So when I got into the season where God got me by myself, he started to show me who I really was. And when I became in this season, I started to see how hurt I was, how broken I was, that I needed healing, I needed deliverance. It was so much stuff that he started to reveal to me that I did not know until I got in this season. And before I got in this season, like I talked about on some of my other videos and even on the blog, I was in a relationship for 5 years. So being in that relationship, we were always together, always spending time, always linked up, that I had no time to really discover self-love or self-respect or even my own identity, because when everybody would see me, they would like approach me or acknowledge me as, oh, that's Tiearra's such and such girlfriend. But it was like, I didn't notice that it wasn't about me. It was always who I was linked up with. So when I became out of that relationship, it was difficult because I was afraid to be alone. I was afraid to, hear my own thoughts. I was afraid to be out by myself. I was afraid to being at home and nobody was there to talk to. And I feel a lot of times we're afraid to being alone because we're afraid of the unknown. We're not sure of what's going to happen when we're by ourselves. So because we don't know, we stay sometimes in these meaningless relationships. We stay hooked up with these friends. We stay doing things that make our flesh happy when in the inside our spirits are totally broken. They're not whole. We don't even know who we are. So we find comfort in somebody else. So once I got by myself and God started showing me all these things, I was just like so surprised because I did not know that I was dealing with this stuff. And it really broke my heart to see that all this time when I was putting myself in somebody else outside of God, it was like I was drawing further and further and further and further away from him. And it wasn't just in my last relationship, it was in every relationship. And when we open ourselves up to these things, at least I thought like, okay, I can do what I want, and then when I'm done, I can come out of it. But that wasn't the case. The case was when I was doing what I was doing with whoever or whenever, it was like I had all these different pieces of me left all around. And then when it came time for me to come back to myself, I just felt so empty because I didn't know who I was. I didn't have my own identity. So fast forwarding in 2013, when God came and he knocked on my door, when I was not trying to let him, and I will be honest, I did not answer the call right away because I knew what was to come with that. And I told God, I said, listen, God, when I'm 40, after I have my kids, after I'm married, I got my husband, I got the good job, then I'm going to do you. Like, I'm going to come find you, we're going to do this, and we're going to live happily ever after. But he had different plans. He said, how about when you're 23, I'm going to call you, and we're going to walk this out together. So because I didn't know, what to expect, I was a hot mess. I was out of control. I was like crying for no reason all the time, and I was frustrated, and it was just a lot of emotions that went on. So the more I walked with God and the more I talked with him and the more I let him deal with me and reveal to me who I was, I started to see that there was no way I could move forward in my life without him because I didn't know what to do. So as I started walking more with God and as I started praying and, started being connected with people who had relationships with God, he started to show me where my errors were and how I needed to correct that and how to move forward in my life. So in this season, I found out 3 main topics that I want to talk about, that I want to, just hit on for a few seconds. And the 3 are going to be, when you're in this season, 3 things should come to you. And I feel like they have come to me, so I definitely want to share that with you guys because somebody watching may be in this season where they feel like, well, God, I don't want to be single, or God, I want a boyfriend, or I want to go on vacation, or why is she pregnant and I'm not pregnant, or why he married and I'm not married. A lot of times I feel like when we don't have those things, we compare ourselves to these people or to these relationships when we forget that God is still working in us. He's just doing it at a different pace. So you're in one season at your life and this person may be in another season, or just because they have it going on, that don't mean it's God. You just have to really have discernment and look at your situation to see, okay, am I lined up with God? And if you saying yes, and if God is confirming that it's a yes, then it really doesn't matter what nobody else has going on. And I had to learn that for myself because anytime I seen somebody having or experiencing what I wanted to experience, I started to drown in self-pity and I started to have these little temper tantrums and these little behaviors because I felt like, well, why is she being blessed? Or why does she have this? And why does she have that? And God, I'm right here. I'm living right. I'm trying to do right. So why are you ignoring me? But he had sat me down and said, it's not that I'm ignoring you, Tiearra, and it's not that I don't see you. There's a time and there's a place and there are seasons for everything. And there are scriptures in the Bible that talks about that there are seasons for everything that we go through. And I just hadn't walked in that season yet. That didn't mean that God forgot about me. It was just I had to go through some things in order to receive what it was that he had. So the 3 things I wanted to bring up in this season that I found out was, while you're in your season of singleness, you should find out, A, who God is, B, who you are, and C, what will fit you. Those are the 3 things that I picked up when I watched this sermon on YouTube. And when I sat down and I self-reflected on that, when I thought about when you're in the season, you should find out who God is because he sits you alone. He has you by yourself so he can deal with the things that you might not even know that you're dealing with or that you might not even know that you're suffering with. I dealt with not having my own, feeling like I didn't have my own identity, and I dealt with not wanting to be alone. And I dealt with feeling like I was never enough. And I also had low self-esteem. I thought, oh, because I was a pretty girl, I can get what I want or I can make it to where I needed to go. But it's like, okay, what if something happened and, I got in a car accident, my face got all scratched up or whatever. It's like, once your looks are gone, then who are you? Like, what do you have? So I had to sit down and I had to pray and ask God, what am I here for? What am I supposed to do? What do you have for me? And for a while, I'm going to be honest, I felt like I didn't hear anything because it was like I was so eager to know, but God took his time because I believe he wanted to see my faithfulness. I believe he wanted to see, am I going to continue to seek him and find out what it was, or was I just knocking at his door just to get what I want and then I'm back doing what it was that I wanted to do? So I started to find out and read my scriptures, and I started to pray, and I got with friends that I prayed for and asked God to send me godly friends that had relationships with him, so that way together, they can help me and grow stronger to him, because I didn't know God. I was a baby. I was drinking milk in the spirit. So I needed somebody who had some meat, somebody who had some knowledge, somebody who had discernment, somebody who had a relationship with God, so they can, help me walk this walk and help me get everything that I needed to get. So within the last, I've been walking with God and trying my best to stay on this path and living a life of purity for, it'll be 4 years in June. And yes, I know, because it's been a long time, and I feel like it just happened yesterday, but everything has been happening so quickly. And I feel like in this season with, fasting and praying and reading my scriptures and, having time when I spend God and praising and worshiping and, taking myself on dates and saying, okay, God, let's go. We doing this, we doing that. And it felt so good knowing that all this time I thought I needed flesh to keep me happy or flesh to satisfy me. But what I found in this season and what I know now, there's no human that can make up or make me feel what I feel. Like I felt, once I got with God, I just felt complete. I felt like everything that I was missing or that I thought I needed or couldn't go without, God had the whole time. And one thing I want to say, there is no greater peace than knowing that regardless of what you go through, that God has you. So when I was feeling like, oh God, I don't want to be by myself because I'm scared to, be in my house or hear my own thoughts. But in reality, I was scared to be by myself because I knew I would hear my own thoughts. And I knew God would probably, come and see about me because he's like, okay, I got you by myself. Now I can talk to you. And once I finally got to the point that I was ready to listen, which I ain't going to say is easy because it's not. But once I started to say, okay, God, I'm going to do this by faith, he began to work things in me. He began to download things in me. And every time you look at that blog and every time you watch a video, these are things that God has brought to me as I seeked him. Second thing is going to be who you are. So like I've been saying throughout this whole video blog, I found out who I was by finding out who God was. And when I found out who he was, I realized that I didn't need to have, what's the word I want to think about? I didn't need to have, to be defined by a human because I was already defined by God. God had already created me. And just like he created you, and he already called me just how he have called you to do certain things. And a lot of times we feel like we need a person to give us a name or a person to make us when God has already made us how he wants us to be. So as I found out who I was and I found out, I needed healing, I needed deliverance, I needed to be set free, sometimes even from myself, because a lot of times I would do things and I would still hold myself accountable and I wouldn't even really repent because I felt like I'm not worthy for God to forgive me. He's not going to forgive me if I still go out and do it anyway. But then that's when God started to show me that he was graceful. And I learned, all the different things that God had available to me by going in the back of my Bible and looking at concordance. And I would find different words or different phrases that fit how I felt for that day. And I would find every scripture and I would go to the Bible and I would literally sit at my desk at home in my prayer room and I would write down all the scriptures. And sometimes, like I told you, sometimes I would even put them in my shoes and I would walk on them in my shoes until it was embedded in my heart. And I knew like, okay, this is who I am in God. I am complete in him. And because I am in him, he lives through me, that I know I'm going to be okay. And there's a scripture that says, draw unto God and God will draw unto you. So the more I drew closer to him, the more I started to feel at peace with who I was. And I felt comfortable knowing that this is who God created me to be. And I don't want to be nobody else. And I don't even want to pretend to live a life that isn't pleasing to God, because I didn't want to be exposed. I didn't want to be exposed. And I didn't want to have God looking at me, with his head down, thinking that I was disappointing him. So I just tried my best to just stay on the path, and I tried my best to follow him. And I'm still trying my best, because anybody that tells you this walk is easy, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all, because you might be in a relationship with God, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have times when you slip. It doesn't mean you're not going to have times when you fall. It just means that because God is there with you, you can get back up. You can ask for forgiveness. You can ask for repentance, meaning that you changed your mind and you changed your heart and you're willing to do it again. But instead of doing it by yourself, you're doing it with God. So that way you can do better. And I'm a firm believer that when you have the fear, the respect of God, it'll change your mind and it'll help you do things differently than you have done in the past. And my last thing that I wanted to put for the 3 things that I found out is what will fit you. When I was in the world and doing things that I wanted to do and living a life that was not of God, I needed a certain type of person to date. There was only certain type of guys I looked at. And when I look at that now, and I'm not judging at all, let me say that, because sometimes I still be looking like, oh, shoot, okay. But I had to bring myself back like, no. But there was a certain type of guy I looked for. And now when I see those guys, or when those guys try to approach me, the first thing I say is, who is this and who sent you? Because I know if it's not God, I know it's not going to work, because we're not going to be equally yoked. And we're going to desire and we're going to discern different things, and we're going to butt heads. So it was like, okay, the guys approaching me and they reminded me of guys that I used to date in the past or things that I used to do in my past. I didn't want to be attached to that, because I didn't want to backslide, and I didn't want to go back to those things. And then I had to come back and ask God for forgiveness for the things that I made up in my mind that I didn't want to do anymore. And that's tough, because like a lot of you guys know, I've been living a life of celibacy for almost 4 years now. And a lot of times, like, I would try to, see how guys would be with me, or I would talk to them. And then when they would find out I was celibate, they would say, oh yeah, me too, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And then a little time goes in and it's like they trying, or they making, gestures or suggestions, and it's like, but I thought you was doing this too. So then it was like I had to back myself up, because I felt like we weren't equally yoked, and I didn't want to be attached to somebody that was gonna make me draw further away from God, when in actuality I was trying to draw closer to him. So I just knew that those type of guys didn't fit me anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that, God can't clean that person up, or he can't work with that person. It was just as far as when it came to my life, I wasn't willing to settle. And sometimes it's hard, because we feel like, oh God, he's never going to come, or she's never going to come, or I'm never going to find the person that you have for me, or somebody that loves you just as much as, that's going to love you just as much as you love me. But I'm willing to wait it out, and I'm willing to see, and I'm willing to just pray about it and see what God is going to do, because I feel like if we get into things prematurely, or we get into things that God don't really have for us, it's not going to work anyway. You're going to enjoy it for that season, and then once that season is up, you got to come out, and then you got to start all over again. And like I told y'all in my last video, it's hard when you doing things with somebody that God doesn't have set up for you, and then now you got to change all of this stuff and do all of these things differently, and don't nobody want to go through that. I know I don't ever want to go through that again, because that was tough for me. So it's like now I'm willing to just wait it out, and I'm willing to just pray and seek God more, and just seek godly counsel, and have those friends that are going to hold me accountable to my relationship with God, so that way I know when I feel like I'm having a moment and I feel like, I'm ready to just break loose and do whatever I want to do, I can pray, and I can call those friends, or I can read the word, and the word will speak to me, and the word will heal me, and the word will help me stay on this path. So those were the 3 things that have that definitely came to me that I wanted to share with you guys, as far as living a life of singleness and living a life of purity and giving God all you got, because I promise you will not make a mistake. I promise you will not be disappointed, and I promise that God is faithful. The word tells us that, and I believe it in my heart. And one thing that I learned is, you can read the word, but if you don't receive the word and you don't believe the word is never going to come into effect for you. And it's never going to happen, because we know that faith is the substance of things hoped for yet unseen. So you can't think that you can believe in something, you want to read something, but you don't believe it. It's not going to happen for you. But you have to apply that faith. And it's not easy. It's not easy having faith because sometimes we be thinking like, oh, it's never going to happen. And we start being double-minded and we start doubting God. But it's like God has a record of never failing. You're not going to go nowhere in the Bible and it's not going to show you that, oh, God made a mistake, so he had to go back and do something over. You're never going to find that in there because he was a perfect God. Now, that doesn't mean that we're perfect, but because we serve and we live for somebody that's perfect, we can definitely believe that he's going to come through for us and he's going to show us the right way to take. So I'm definitely a firm believer that as long as you want it and as long as you're chasing God and as long as you're giving him your best, you best to believe he's going to give you his best. He's not going to come half-stepping. And he's not going to give you those things that you desire in your heart and disappoint you. Because I feel like if this God, he knows us more than we know ourselves. He knew that I was going to make this video today and he knew that you were going to be watching today. So he lines things up in order to match up with his will. So I definitely believe that whatever it is that you have in your heart that lines up with the will of God and God is there and he's the one who put it together, write the vision out, make it plain and let him do what he has to do for you. Let's stop comparing ourselves to people. Let's stop, watching everybody else and thinking that we have to have what they have because in all actuality, what God has for you is for you and you're not going to miss it. It may be delayed, but if it's by God, it's not going to be denied. So you just have to trust and we just have to believe that God is going to come through for us. And I'm walking it out just like you are walking it out. And I just want to encourage you just to continue to stay on a race. I just want to continue to help you guys. And that's why when I get on these video blogs and when I write on the webpage, I'm writing from my heart. I never want to make anybody seem like what I'm doing is just for church or I'm doing this just for, subscribers or for likes. Like at the end of the day, as long as I know what I'm doing is matching up with the will of God and I'm reaching just one person and that one person feels like, oh my gosh, like I feel like she's speaking through my soul right now, then that's all I care about because at the end of the day, we're not staying here forever. This road is coming down and we're going to stand in front of our Creator. We're going to stand in front of God and all I want him to say is well done. I don't want him to say get behind me. So I just really pray that you guys just continue to stay on a race. Just continue to seek God. Just continue to press and give him all you got. And like I said, you can definitely look on the webpage and there's going to be tons of blogs. I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to be right here as long as God have me here. And there are some great things coming up. So I hope that you guys continue to watch. I hope that you guys continue to pray that God works through this ministry just as well as I'm praying. And just know that there's some exciting news coming. So you might want to make sure you subscribe to my channel because when I'm able to talk about it, I'm able to release exactly what it is, y'all going to be on fire just like I am. So I'm giving God all I got. And I pray that you guys just continue to subscribe. I pray you guys continue to watch. And I pray that you just continue to fall more in love with Jesus every day, because that's what it's all about. So I'm wrapping this up. I don't want to talk your ear off. I don't want you guys to get bored, but I pray that you got something out of this, just a little something. If it's not a lot, I pray something was said from God through me that spoke into your heart that made you want to draw just a little bit closer to him. So once again, my name is Tierra, and I'm coming on behalf of Devotions of Purity, and I will see you guys soon. Love you.